What's up everyone, it's ENDYMION, and here I thought I could relax and play some video games today, but no, Sony had to go ahead and release probably one of the worst state of plays in a long time. In case you didn't watch it, a lot of slop got revealed, like Silent Hill 2 Remake, which don't worry we'll get there, as well as the next big mega flop in the making called Concord, which is what you're seeing on screen right now. Finally, I'll speak on Sony losing billions due to chasing stupid agenda pushing, but first let's talk about this other disaster. Concord is like the event horizon for woke DEI agenda pushing nonsense all folded into one video game. I genuinely couldn't believe what I was seeing as I was watching it. It looked like an off-brand Guardians of the Galaxy, but it could be fun if it was an open-world shooter where you could swap party members and explore the galaxy. But instead, Concord is a 5 vs 5 first-person shooter multiplayer game, and yes, it will cost full price if you want to play it. And I have to ask, who exactly is this game for? Well, let's dive into it. First, from Insider Gaming, we have this one titled, Concord hit with overly negative response after reveal. As of the making of this video, Concord has a 77% dislike ratio on its CGI trailer, and a mind-boggling 82% dislike ratio on its gameplay trailer. The game is being blasted by PlayStation fans for being the opposite of what players want these days, and I agree 100%. Everyone is basically calling the game an Overwatch clone with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League vibes with hints of Destiny, which makes sense since ex-Bungie devs are working at this studio, which is called Firewalk Studios by the way. Firewalk, on their studio website, champions that they're a very respectful and inclusive new developer that was founded in 2018. And by the looks of their first game, they meant that for sure. Just take one look at the character roster, which is straight up just another Overwatch clone, but the designs are dog shit, and that's putting it lightly. One thing many pointed out is when you select a character, you can actually see their preferred pronouns in the top right. Amari, for example here, who's a tank apparently, has she, her listed right there by her name. And can we stop here for a second to just look at this design, cause this is horrible. I don't know what the hell Firewalk was smoking when they designed these characters, but these look horrible, dude. Imari's default color scheme is just bland and boring. Her outfit looks like Riot police gear, but she has this dark blue lipstick and a weird piercing that's going through her nose. And just zooming in on some of these other designs here, I mean, do any of these look appealing to you? Honestly, let me know. Because you have stuff like old Asian woman character, black woman with backwards hat sniper, and then whatever the hell this is. I don't even have words for this. Is that a man or a woman? I have no idea. This person here, like, look at their character icon. They look like their head is sitting inside of a forklift. Like, what are these designs? The only two designs I somewhat liked are some of the main characters, I guess. There was the Asian woman who's featured prominently at least. She isn't a fat slob or anything, which shows you how low the bar of quality is already. And this guy with the red face called Starchild, he looks pretty cool, but he almost looks exactly like the twins from the Guardians of the Galaxy game. I had to go look into it because I forgot their names, but I found it. They're called the Blood Brothers, and I mean, dude, look at their design and look at Starchild. It's practically the same character with slight variations. Concord is quite literally an off-brand Guardians of the Galaxy. It's as if Sony couldn't secure the rights to the brand, so they just made the Janitors of Space instead. Some of the characters, like this one named Lark, has no pronouns yet. As you can see in the top right, it's undecided apparently. Even the robot that's called One-Off has pronouns. It's he, him. It's a freaking robot, dude. Come on. Robots don't have pronouns. They're genderless. They're robots. Why am I even explaining this to you? You already know this. God, this is so stupid. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but if you skim over the entire playable roster here, there is only a bunch of women of color, some weird aliens, a robot, and that's about it. There's no white people at all in this game's roster. Some people say the guy on the far left here might be a white guy, but he looks like he's South American or something to me. I could be wrong though. The point is that this game is literal slop DEI from beginning to end. I have no idea who this game is for exactly. And I cringe when I realize Sony is selling this game for full price at release, which almost certainly means this game will die and have no chance at all. Multiplayer games have largely been transformed by the existence of free-to-play experiences, think Fortnite, Apex, and so on. All the games that realistically still have thriving audiences is because they don't charge you in order to play it up front. Yes, there's some outliers like your yearly Call of Duty games, but besides that franchise, for the most part, multiplayer has gone free to play to ensure a healthy fan base can thrive. EA tried to sell Battlefield 2042 as a full-price premium release with no single player and multiplayer only, and it failed really hard when it came out. Since then, Battlefield 2042 has had free-to-play access periods, but the base game you still need to buy, although yes, it is cheaper now, but it should be free-to-play to begin with. And the next Battlefield that is being made right now, whatever it ends up being, it should not be a premium full-price game either. The only way they can justify that is if they have a robust single-player mode, co-op, and more. Otherwise, you either go free-to-play or you die. This is why Concord is so puzzling to me. Why is Sony selling this slot for full price knowing it only has multiplayer and that's it? Sure, they won big with Helldivers 2, but that game wasn't full price. It was $50 Canadian at release compared to the usual $80 Canadian. Concord is presumably a first-party studio release, so it'll be $80 to even $90 because it'll be considered premium. And I think unless Concord is god tier, like the best thing we've ever played, there's no way it survives at that price point. It just won't. Imagine if Concord had a full open world experience where you learned who these characters were and did bounties and stuff hunting down weird aliens across the galaxy. But then it also had a multiplayer mode where you could dive in like Destiny and fight other people. The game would be much more warmly received. This game should be at best $50 Canadian at release. Even then, I don't think it will succeed. And that really comes down to the fact that the game's design and characters, they just look like actual dog water, and that might be offensive to dog water, really. It unironically looks like that one AI-generated image of the Goyslop cover with the fat space marine on it. That's literally Concord. I look at this roster, and I feel nothing. I see a bunch of characters designed by woke artists to feel inclusive. Like it's a game designed and okayed by Sony's California offices exclusively. This is a game made for nobody, made by people who are wasting their time making it. None of those characters look unique, and the game just looks like a ripoff of Destiny meets Overwatch. Please, game developers, I'm begging you. Stop making Goyslop hero shooter live service games. We don't need more of this dying genre. Sure, some upcoming games are doing it too, like Marvel Rivals, but at least there it's free to play and has the obvious star power that is Marvel behind it as a brand. And let me be clear, if Marvel Rivals was full price at release, it too would die as well, despite it being Marvel. At least Marvel or Disney realizes if you want to compete with Fortnite and whatnot, you have to play at their game. And putting a massive paywall in front of entry is just such a bad idea, dude. Kids and teenagers are largely who play these kinds of games, and they're usually not stacked with a lot of money. If you want a healthy player base, you gotta get those young people in, and they have become accustomed to free-to-play multiplayer games. Ain't none of these kids are gonna ask their mommy or daddy to buy them DEI Guardians of the Overwatch The Final Shape. Nobody. Sony is just sending this game out to die, and I hope they realize that, because people are sick of multiplayer games. They want more single player stuff, and speaking of single player, we got Silent Hill 2 Remake, which also looks dead on arrival too, for similar reasons like Concord. People largely consider Silent Hill 2 to be one of the best survival horror games ever made, yet everyone got nervous when they found out that Bloober Team of all devs to be the ones making this remake, since they don't have a good track record when it comes to survival horror, and that's putting it lightly. They already made the game more action-oriented, turning it into more of a Resident Evil 4 clone, which has already pissed people off, but now the character and creature designs are getting blasted too. For example, here's Maria in the original game, and now here she is in the remake. Objectively, the original is just better overall, but this is not even the worst of it, sadly. Here we now have Angela in the original game, and here she is in the sequel, and yeah man, I don't know either. Angela has gone from looking like a woman to another downgrade, and that's just, good lord, who the hell approved this, man? What's honestly more offensive to me is that the game just doesn't look like a PS5 exclusive at all. Like, what are these graphics? I know, graphics aren't everything, but this is a PS5 exclusive title, for now anyways. I'm sure it'll come to PC. But even then, this looks like it could run on a PS3 at best. Angela looks horrible, but it's not even her. Even the nurse enemies got downgraded too. Here's the nurses in the original. Yes, they are creepy, but also, of course, they have feminine figures. And then here's the design in the remake. All curves are gone, breasts reduced, and they look completely shallow now. So what the hell is happening with Sony? Why are they showcasing these games like Concord and Silent Hill 2 Remake, and then fans are all up in arms about it? The simple answer is these games just look like the peak example of being made for a modern audience. It also doesn't help that in Silent Hill's case, it's being worked on with the help of a consulting agency called Hit Detection, which is basically just another Sweet Baby. Just by reading the About Us part of Hit Detection's website tells us everything we need to know about them, and I quote, "Hit Detection is a video game consulting firm with a global presence. We bring decades of experience in games media, consumer electronics, and interactive entertainment to deliver the most comprehensive and accurate insights to clients who have trusted us for many years. Among the esteemed clientele that we have are able to publicly reveal, we have provided services to the likes of Bloober Team, Remedy, and Sega. Our commitment to building a team from a variety of backgrounds, including underrepresented groups, is a superpower that allows us to provide unique and varied perspectives, setting us apart from other firms. This diversity is a strength that fortifies our insights and gives us a natural advantage within the consulting landscape. Hit Detection's current consultants boast impressive resumes, having worked with world-renowned media outlets and institutions. This includes Riot Games, Blizzard, EA, Obsidian, Eurogamer, The Verge, Polygon, GameSpot, Edge, Games Radar, Wired, and IGN. Former consultants from our ranks have gone on to join prestigious companies such as PlayStation, Larian Studios, Xbox, EA, and Level Infinite Tencent. Hit Detection leverages its greatest strengths to accurately predict media and consumer expectations at every stage of the development process. From ideas and pre-production to alpha and launch, we ensure that your games resonate authentically with your players." End quote. Oh great, so some of the consultants who've worked at this place have gone on to join companies like EA, PlayStation, and even Larian Studios, as in the makers of Baldur's Gate 3. Maybe one of those consultants are working on Concord. I wouldn't be surprised considering how bad this all looks. This self-destruction of all of these games and companies is all over the place, man. It's crossing over genres and player bases. And it's not paying off. I honestly think the Silent Hill 2 remake has disaster written all over it, and I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up closing down Bloober Team for good. And I'm worried that Firewalk Studios will be killed off well before their game Concord even starts to get its legs, but does that surprise anyone? Not really. Stuff is already too expensive, and I wouldn't be surprised if Firewalk tries to push a Battle Pass and cash shop onto Concord too, which players will definitely not be receptive to since they had to pay $80 Canadian for it in the first place. And nothing is bulletproof. Even Spider-Man is apparently not doing as well as they hoped, as this article reads. Sony attempts to spin Sweet Baby Inc. influenced Marvel Spider-Man 2 as great success despite sales not even reaching half of original game. According to Sony's recent postings, they're saying Spider-Man 2 has been a success for them, but people are skeptical of this because Reset Era managed to gain access to Sony's internal sales data, and, well, it paints a very different picture. Spider-Man 2018 has sold 22 million units as seen here on the graph. Here, I'll zoom in because it's a lot to read, I know. Miles Morales has sold 11 million units as well, but that game wasn't full priced either, which was smart of Sony to do. Spider-Man 2 selling what it has so far is still good, don't get me wrong, but the game is below what the original has done. Granted, the numbers used here likely combined PS4, PS5, and PC for Spider-Man 2018 compared to Spider-Man 2's being only on PS5 right now, which honestly, it is still impressive considering. That being said, the negative social media reception likely did hamper the sales of the game, but I do think that regardless of the backlash, Spider-Man 2 sold because, well, it's Spider-Man after all. However, I think those sales obviously did not have the Sweet Baby thing being as well as it is now. And customers likely bought Spidey 2 blindly, not knowing a Sweet Baby at the time, which you can't blame them since nobody really did either. And now for the part 3 or whatever it will be, interesting to see how well that game does considering the reception from fans when it comes to Spidey 2 now post-mortem. It'll be interesting when it comes to PC too, and we'll see if people buy it there knowing that the story is underwhelming, has Sweet Baby ties and all of that. I think it'll sell decently because again, it's Spider-Man, but will it be a mega hit on PC? I guess we'll see. But I think what we're seeing is a lot of problems here that could have been avoided by Sony if they stopped allowing their Western offices to make the decisions. Between Spider-Man and Sweet Baby or Silent Hill with Hit Detection, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Concord has some sort of consulting agency attached too. Of course, I cannot prove that yet anyways, but I wouldn't be surprised. It also doesn't help that people like Black Girl Gamers commented "can't wait" under Silent Hill, which might be because someone who works at Black Girl Gamers likes Silent Hill. That could be the case. But usually when these consulting companies comment on something, it's because they are likely involved with the project in some capacity, which honestly, that wouldn't surprise me either. Although Black Girl Gamers of all groups being involved with Silent Hill 2 Remake seems like a weird pick since they specialize in black entertainment, which Silent Hill 2 is not. However, I wouldn't be surprised if they were involved with Concord, considering how many playable characters on that roster are right up their alley. And of course, need I remind you, Sony has already lost $10 billion in value since they lowered their profit margins this year too. Apparently, the analysts who work with Sony are extremely disappointed, and this all comes down to gaming operation margins, which is basically what is left over once all the bills, taxes, and so on are paid from all the various sources. And Sony isn't making as much. Now, are they going to go under? No. Sony still makes more than literally anyone else in gaming. That includes Steam, by the way, if you can believe it. However, they could be even higher, but they keep making mistakes by creating these diverse DI releases. And they're hampering themselves for no reason, basically, and it's costing them. Their operating margin is down to 6% this year, which was 9% last year. Which may not seem like much, but that's a lot of profit being ripped away from you due to your own choices. In fact, if we look at it logically, think of it this way. Sony's actual profit that they go home with has almost been slashed in half, basically, from last year. And do you think stuff like Concord or Silent Hill will make them tons of money? If you think so, I got some air in a glass I can sell you if you're that gullible, but as you can see, this DEI push is not working for them. These games are either not performing as well as they could be, like Spider-Man, or they're dead on arrival, like everything else I just explained. Can Sony turn this around? Yes, they can, but they would need to close their California operations and migrate all their decision makings back to Japan exclusively. All Sony has to do is remove woke identity politics and embrace their nationalistic strengths, and then they would just explode in revenue. And if not, I guess Concord might become the future, which, good lord, I hope not. And as if the issues surrounding Sony couldn't get worse, they also managed to mess up the upcoming release of God of War Ragnarok for PC. So it turns out if you want to play that game on PC, you'll have to make a PSN account, 100% confirmed. Which they tried to do with Helldivers 2, which caused a big problem for a lot of people, which resulted in Sony circling back and saying you actually don't need it, but you actually technically still do, and they haven't 100% fixed the issues around that yet. And now Helldivers 2's player counts have cratered since due to the loss of fan loyalty and refunds. Then Ghost of Tsushima also needed a PSN login for the multiplayer, but not the single player. But now Ragnarok absolutely 100% needs it, and the game is single player only, so what gives? The simple answer here is Sony is, yet again, making stupid ass decisions to alienate players or force them to do things that they don't want to do. They don't seem to realize that you can't really force PC players to do anything because they'll just ignore you or pirate your game in protest. All Sony is doing by making things like this happen is pissing off their loyal fan base for greed. Like, beyond God of War, what the hell is gonna happen with stuff like Insomniac's Wolverine? And all the DI stuff that's happening there? Will that also need a PSN account when it inevitably comes to PC a year later too? They're just gonna keep pushing this stuff, but PC players won't budge, especially recently where Herman Hulst, who basically runs PlayStation now, said that he thinks PC players will buy a PS5 to enjoy their exclusives earlier. Herman doesn't understand PC players at all. Those guys will literally wait till their PCs die or catch fire before they upgrade. They will also wait years to buy games with all their DLC for when it's super cheap, like $5 or $10. The patience of the PC player cannot be overcome, and they're moronic to think that they can do that somehow. Pushing for PSN logins is just another bad move on Sony's part, man. I really don't understand their decision-making processes lately. None of these things will strengthen the brand or help at all, and they need to do better by all players or face the repercussions. As always, let me know what you think. Have a great day, and thanks to my patrons as always. Vote with your wallet, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.